What's happening, guys? Today is a little bit different. Today I'm going to tell you two stories, but stories that I think are really going to help you avoid problems with your business. Now, over the past while, I've received a couple comments saying, why don't you speak about the dark side of the moon?
The dark side of Amazon.
The more difficult part of this business. You know, it's not that easy. I would love for you to do a video on the difficult parts, and that's what this is. Now, I could make a few of these, but this one is going to focus on intellectual property. We're talking trademarks and copyrights and the nightmares I've had to go through with those too. Now, some of you just want the takeaways, and I assure you, I'm going to give you 4 big takeaways at the end and about 10 other things. And I want to explain a couple terms just so this is simple from here on. The other companies are the plaintiff. They are the one saying, this is my mark, this is my copyright, this is my trademark, and you do not have the rights to use it. They're also the ones who often lay the claim with Amazon. So they'll actually put an infringement claim against you, or in this case, against me. Now, with our stories, my company is the defendant. We need to either accept their claim and change things, or we need to fight their claim and explain why it's unjust, why it's unfounded, why that is not actually the case. And then there's you. Well, you should just click the like button. So let's start with number 1. So this first big problem actually happened with one of my products regarding its brand name. Now, this was a brand name I'd already done trademark checks for. I'd already trademarked this brand name, and I had this brand name on a lot of units in current inventory. And that's when another company placed an infringement claim against me. They didn't get me delisted in this case, but they emailed me threatening legal action if I didn't take certain steps. Now, something I always thought is that someone's not really going to place an infringement claim and say you're infringing unless you're in a similar business, like you sell the same types of products or offer the same type of service. But that's actually not the case, because in this story, number 1, the company placing that infringement claim against me offered a service which was totally different to the product I sold. So they're a service provider and I'm a physical product provider, and our niches are not even aligned. And to make it worse, I really felt that the names were not confusingly similar. In fact, this only related to the suffix of the brand name, the 3 end letters of that brand name. So for example, let's pretend their name was E-Sky, and then let's pretend that my brand name was Lang Sky. That's the type of comparison, pretty much like really similar to what was going on. It was just the last 3 letters, and they were claiming I was leveraging that to sell products. So in short, you can never truly avoid this 100%. There's no possible way. There's too many companies out there for you to reference and say, would they see this as confusingly similar? As you can see, sometimes they're even in different niches. I've worked with quite a few trademark attorneys, and I can tell you they would not even have assumed that this would have been a problem. But of course, this was a problem. So they were threatening legal action, and I needed to take action in response. So many lawyer fees later, I actually secured a deal whereby I could sell through the current inventory, but thereafter I needed to change the brand name. I would pass over my trademark to them, and I would pass over my domain name to them, and I would remove any mention of that name on the internet entirely, and that's when we could then move on. They did actually reimburse me for the trademark, the fees in gaining that trademark in full, which I was surprised by. So that's something you're going to want to push for if you ever have a similar deal to make. The main thing for me though was being able to sell through the current inventory, because if I lose the right to do that, that's a huge financial loss. And what do you do with those units? Again, in this one, Amazon did not delist us. This was totally external to Amazon in this case, and that might happen to you. So just be aware of that. Sometimes it's not actually going to go through the Amazon platform. You're just going to receive an email one day. So just be prepared for that, and you can work out a good deal and something that's not going to cripple the business. So if it does happen, don't stress out too much. You might need to lawyer up, but it is workable. acceptable, and this one we managed to get through. And moving on to the second incident. Now this one was more over a copyright than a trademark, and therefore it wasn't actually with the brand name on the product, it was with an emblem on the product. Now the emblem on my product was something on like pretty much everyone's product in this industry. It really just represented to the customer, this product is part of this industry, and I had no inclination that that mark was owned by anyone. I know a little bit about trademarks, copyrights, and I genuinely thought that this was just everyone's property. For example, you can't trademark the words and or the, because companies need to use those in everyday business. And it's the same with common shapes, things like circles or squares. Everyone uses those. They're owned by everyone. They can't be owned by an individual or a company. And so in this case, I really thought it was the case regarding this emblem on my product. So to give you an analogy here, and I'm not saying these are protected by someone, but think about a power button icon, you know, the one that looks just like this. Think about that icon. It's on all electronics, so you have it on your product, and then one day you receive an infringement claim that you're using someone's mark. It's this power button icon. It was exactly like that. But it did get me thinking, why does everyone else have that emblem on their product and they're not having a problem? And then I realized that I think at some point when you get significant success with a product, you start to become noticed. You're on the front page, you're top of front page on Amazon. Those are the people who are going to have these issues. The big companies are going to go after the big fish. So just keep that in mind. You might be okay for a while. You get to the top of results and that's when it comes. So this is something just to keep in mind, and I will give you some strategies in a moment. Now in this case, the plaintiff did get us delisted on Amazon. So our listing was just gone without warning. Amazon didn't warn us or anything. And then to make it worse, we were not able to get that plaintiff's details for 5 weeks. Going back and forth with Amazon, asking them for those details. And so guys, it's not always rainbows and sunshine. Amazon can be really difficult to deal with. You can imagine the frustration in that. Again, we're international to the US market, so removals are not easy. And remember, when you've got units there, stranded inventory is going to be disposed of if you don't remove it. So 5 weeks, that's massive. What if they dispose of your inventory? You lose all the money invested in that inventory. Now to make it even worse, at this time, we had a 3,000 unit order arriving at the warehouse worth a significant amount of money. Already, of course, branded just like before, had the emblem on it because we weren't aware before placing that order. So we opened hundreds of lines of communication with Amazon, lots of cases. I even used the jeff@amazon.com email, which is like only for emergencies, just to try get the plaintiff details so we could move forward on this. After 5 weeks, we did get them. Now here's the craziest thing I realize I haven't mentioned. This whole time, this whole 5 weeks, we don't know what the problem is. We don't know what the infringement relates to. We don't know it's the emblem yet. We don't know anything. So only when we get in touch with the plaintiff do we realize, because they email us back telling us it is this emblem. That's the first point we realize what the problem even is. Now through our communication, we also realized Amazon said they will not relist this product unless the plaintiff revokes their claim. So unless the person who filed an infringement claim against you revokes that claim, your listing is not coming back. So of course our primary goal was to get that revocation of rights, to get them to take that away and allow us to sell current inventory. And in return, we offered to redesign that emblem entirely so it's not similar at all for all future orders, and we offered to pay them damages, if you will, just for the right to sell that current inventory, because the loss is going to be much worse if we can't sell that current inventory. And guys, you have to remember, it's not just the 3,000 units at risk, and the 3,000 units worth between 30-40 grand. It's also the listing, the reviews, the time, energy put into that listing is worth hundreds of thousands, all future orders. you're going to lose all future orders if this doesn't get relisted. So it's extremely important, if this ever does happen, you have to lawyer up, you have to be serious, you have to offer them a good deal. And although it's pretty desperate, you're going to have to do almost anything you can to get them to revoke that claim. So another thing we did here is we of course contacted Amazon multiple times explaining, you lost us 5 weeks here. If we had had the 5 weeks, we could have cleared that claim faster. We've lost 5 weeks and we want you to therefore extend our disposal date by 5 weeks, giving us enough time to move through this with the plaintiff, clear the issue, get reinstated, and begin selling again. Now, I'm not able to give you a resolution on number 2 just yet, but here are some takeaways from all of this. Number 1, always go with a unique made-up brand name. 2, quadruple check that for potential trademark infringement. 3, have a trademark attorney run a search for you. 4, examine your product in detail for any symbols, even if you believe they are like common use, like unprotectable marks. If you want to be safe, just tweak them to make them your own. In some cases, you might even want to just remove them if it doesn't deteriorate the value of the product. And 5th, always. Now, those are just some things you can do to try and avoid these types of infringement claims. But here are some strategies you can use if you do end up getting an infringement claim. Number 1, you need to get the plaintiff's details as soon as possible. 2, open multiple cases with Amazon and you reply every single day. They have to respond to you in 12 hours. You reply every single day until they're sick of it and they do provide you with the information. I know that sounds wrong, but that's what you have to do. There are so many sellers. You need to push for the resolution of your issue. 3, if you're desperate and you cannot get a resolution, you can email jeff@amazon.com. That is only for emergencies though. Don't just use it lightly for silly issues. 4, once you have the plaintiff details, lawyer up. You're probably going to need a lawyer. Have them reach out to the plaintiff and also provide the ASIN and SKU in the email to the plaintiff, because they often do this to multiple ASINs at once. So they're doing like an Amazon clearance type thing. So they might actually put infringement claims against 5 different listings. So just help them out to know exactly which one you are. 5, once you know their stance, the plaintiff's stance, like what they want or if they're willing to, move on this issue, you need to formulate your strategy. Is it going to be to change your product and accept their demands, or is it going to be to actually fight them? 6, I just want to mention this. If you're going to fight them, just be really careful, because in my experience, these are very big companies for some reason. It's big companies. They've got a lot of capital. You probably don't want to end up in court with them. So if you can make the change and adjustment, it's no failure to accept their demands and accept to just change it. You're preserving your business. 7, if you do accept the changes, get on the redesign. In fact, I recommend, as I do, I just do the redesign immediately, and I have multiple versions ready, so I'm ready to send it to them to say, hey, we'll change it to this. If they're not happy, hey, we'll change it to this. Have that ready, and included here, you're going to have a little bit of capital on the side. Often this requires a bit of incentive. I spoke to an attorney just the other day and he was saying they've got you delisted, so there's no incentive for them to help you get relisted. You need to incentivize them. Think low thousands of dollars. Next, you're going to request them to revoke those rights to give you the ability to sell through current inventory, and they need to send Amazon that revoking of the rights, that revocation of the rights, if that's a thing, so that Amazon will actually relist you and you're able to sell. And lastly is sell through your current inventory, which will have the wrong mark on, but you made a deal there, and then immediately on the reorder, your next order has the new redesign, and you want to triple check with your supplier that they use the redesign. triple check with them, because it's highly likely they just do it the same as the past orders, and that is going to be a massive problem. Guys, I know this one was a little different, but I really felt the need to share it with you, just so you know things can really go wrong at some points. There's going to be really hard times. There's going to be things which seem unfair that you're going to have to work through, and it might not seem important right now, say you're just starting, but having this in the back of your mind is going to help you be prepared if that ever does happen. But if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button for me. Remember, subscribe below, turn on those little notifications, that way you know exactly when we release a new video. We're also going to have a shorts series coming out. For those of you who want the content in short, small bursts, we're going to have a little shorts playlist there as well. And I've also updated all the playlists, so now it's much more categorized for you in the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you're making some good progress, and I will see you in the next video.